Welcome to the Deception Tale Workshop. Earlier, I assumed threats held power if one feared them. Now I understand they hold weight only when they are genuine. The kitchen remained still except for the low hum of the refrigerator. Standing before me, Brooke, arms folded, bore an expression I'd seen countless times during the past year, a chilling confidence tainted with subtle disdain. "We have been married for 11 years, she declared. "For the last 18 months, we've been merely roommates sharing a home. I will be filing for divorce tomorrow." Her voice held an unwavering, rehearsed tone. "My lawyer predicts we'll bring you to court within 2 months, and if we succeed, you may only retain your vehicle," she continued. I remained silent for a moment, propped against the counter with my coffee mug in hand, observing her like a spectator observing an unaware performer. She had spent months preparing for this moment, the late-night phone calls she believed I hadn't noticed, the documents she'd scan at midnight under the assumption I was asleep. Concealed in her gym bag, a location she believed I would never search since I had ceased attending the gym 18 months prior, she detailed her revelations. "The house, the business shares, the pension plans, my attorney excels in complex divorces. He's well-versed in every strategy, every legal loophole. You've enjoyed a comfortable life for a decade due to my family's influential ties. It's time to settle that debt." I took a leisurely sip of my cooled coffee, barely registering the temperature. "Your attorney," I murmured, "Coleman Wright Barrett Coleman from Hastings and Pierce." Her gaze flitted momentarily. "Indeed, competent lawyer," I said. "Aggressive, costly. I presume he's been worth every cent of the $78,000 you've paid him over the past 14 months. Her gaze hardened. $78,420 was my clarification, drawn from our combined savings, the emergency fund, and 3 cash advances against our home equity line, all with proper documentation and traceable records. I set down my coffee mug. "Can you tell me something else that's traceable?" She didn't respond, her confidence visibly ebbing like water seeping from a cracked glass. The wire transfer to the Cayman account was next. "The one you established in February," I continued. "The one where you and Barrett have been concealing asset transfers for 6 months, assuming I wouldn't detect the double billing from your family company, where they would send us 2 invoices for the same services, both approved by you, with the excess vanishing into account number 447BB923. So far, $47,000 has been transferred. Were you aiming to reach $250,000 before filing?" Brooke's mouth gaped open, but no words escaped. "However," I concluded, pushing myself away from the counter, "my most delightful revelation is yet to come. The prenup you asked Barrett to draft 3 months ago, one that artfully backdated a clause about marital business assets, a point explicitly omitted from our genuine prenup. You intended to submit this revised version during discovery, arguing an amendment to the original, and thereby claim half of my software company, a venture I had established before our union. Your family considered it unworthy for investment, prompting me to place a manila folder on the kitchen table that morning. The predicament lies in the requirement for notarization, witnesses, and the tendency of notaries to keep records, making the forged documents notary seal from a woman who was in Florida on the date. We supposedly signed it a matter lawyers refer to as a substantial concern. I pushed the folder toward you. "You've already lost everything," I said. "You just didn't realize it until now." 6 months prior, the chain of events began unnoticed by me. Late at night, I received a bank notification about unusual account activity, a large cash advance against our home equity line. Though I initially thought it was fraud, Brooke explained she was investing in her cousin's restaurant franchise. Her enthusiasm was unlike anything I'd seen from her in months, but the timing seemed off. Banks don't approve home equity advances at midnight. This minor inconsistency gnawed at me like a pebble in my shoe, noticeable, irritating, unnatural. Consequently, I started paying closer attention, not with suspicion, just the type of attentiveness one employs when something feels slightly out of tune. Initially, my wife handled our personal finances while I managed the business. However, I started scrutinizing the statements left on the kitchen counter. Most of it was normal expenses such as groceries, gas, her gym membership, visits to her parents in Ashton, and occasional charges from her family's real estate company. But I noticed duplicate charges from Wagner Properties, her family's firm, on the same date. For the same amount, one cleared, one pending. I initially assumed it was a bank error, but it wasn't. The pattern repeated monthly different amounts, but always duplicates, always from her family's company, and the pending charge would disappear within 72 hours, not declined, not reversed, just gone from the account history entirely. That's when I hired Barrett Cross, a forensic accountant, to audit our marriage finances. Cross found that my wife was planning to leave me and steal money through a sophisticated fraud scheme involving her family's company and her lawyer. The duplicate charges were going to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, using our joint account credentials. She approved both transactions, then hid one of the duplicates in processing limbo. When the bank's reconciliation system flagged the duplicate, she marked it as a vendor error and requested a void instead of a refund, making the transaction disappear from my visible statement history, but the money still transferred. I hired Foster, a federal prosecutor for criminal defense consultation who specialized in white-collar crime. For 4 months, I lived a double life, pretending everything was normal while building a case against my wife and her lawyer. I sent Cross updates, photographs of documents she left out, screenshots of her phone's home screen, copies of credit card statements she thought she'd hidden. Cross traced every offshore transfer, documented every duplicate charge, contacted the notary who'd had her credentials forged, and even found the Photoshop file my wife's lawyer used to create the fake prenup. Foster built a case spanning wire fraud, money laundering, forgery, and conspiracy. My wife filed the fraudulent prenup in divorce proceedings, but I didn't respond immediately. 3 days later, federal investigators arrived at my wife's lawyer's office with a warrant, at her parents' house where she was staying, and at my house with Cross and documents. My wife was informed she was a target, and her family's company was being audited for potential involvement. I was the cooperating witness who'd been working with federal authorities for 4 months. The confrontation in my kitchen happened 3 weeks later. My wife returned, her lawyer advised reconciliation dialogue, probably hoping I would drop cooperation with federal investigators. That's when I told her about the accounts, the forensic audit, the forged prenup, and the notary who was 800 miles away at the time. She signed an immunity agreement that afternoon. My wife's lawyer refused his, is currently awaiting trial, suspended from practicing law, facing 15 years minimum if convicted, and her family company is under federal audit, with 3 relatives facing charges for conspiracy. The duplicate billing scheme had been running for 7 years, targeting multiple clients, total theft exceeding $2 million, making me one of the victims among dozens. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Looking at me over his reading glasses, Logan remarked, "I've been on the bench for 19 years and have witnessed various financial misconduct, fraud, but seldom have I seen someone as meticulously detail their own downfall like you, Brooke." Seated at a table across from her, with a court-appointed attorney, after Coleman's suspension. Logan keeps no matrimonial assets. He owes a reparation of $97,000, which includes funds withdrawn from joint accounts and court fees. The initial submitted prenuptial agreement has been declared invalid and inapplicable, meaning all business assets remain personal property. He signed the final order, the divorce was granted, and the court is dismissed. Brooke left without glancing at me. I remained seated until the courtroom emptied. 2 years and 6 months post-divorce, I received a letter from the federal prosecutor's office. Coleman was found guilty on 14 counts of fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering, sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, and ordered to repay $3.7 million in restitution to his victims. His law license was revoked permanently. Brooke managed to evade imprisonment but forfeited everything else. Her family disowned her following the audit's revelations of fraud. They attempted to claim ignorance, but her testimony destroyed their defense. She now works retail in a distant city, living in a small apartment and erasing her old life from social media. The house was sold, filled with too many memories, most of which were false. I bought a smaller downtown place, closer to my office, and providing better lighting and an unreminding view. My company flourished without the marriage burden and the investigation distraction. I secured 2 major contracts and hired 4 new developers. The business I built prior to Brooke, which she dismissed as risky, is now worth multiple figures. I seldom think of her anymore, not with anger or remorse, but rather like recalling a serious accident, something terrible that transpired, something that could have been worse, something I survived. Sometimes people inquire if I feel guilty, if I believe I should have divorced her ordinarily, sparing her the criminal charges and the high road. I tell them the truth. She didn't merely betray me. She methodically planned to rob me, jeopardize my business, and financially ruin me. She manipulated the legal system, forged documents, and conspired with her lawyer to commit federal offenses, all premeditated. I didn't wreck her life. I documented it, and when she threatened to take everything, I merely revealed that she had already lost. The kitchen in my new place doesn't resonate like the old one. It's quieter, cleaner, mine, and when I make coffee in the mornings, I drink it hot. This is my story. Thanks for watching Cheating Stories Lab.